Becky's back hit the cold floor with a loud thud. For 1 second, the whole fancy restaurant went quiet, like even the music was scared to breathe. A fork slipped from someone's hand and clinked on a plate. Becky blinked fast, trying to understand how she got here. One moment she had been sitting on a soft chair, wearing a neat, simple dress, feeling like she finally belonged in a beautiful place. And the next moment, her cheek was pressed to the shiny floor. Her eyes stung, not only from pain, also from shame. Above her, a man's shadow covered her like a dark cloud. Emeka, her ex-husband. His face was tight like a rope. His eyes were full of anger that did not even make sense. He pointed at her like she was a thief. "So you're following me now?" Emeka shouted. People turned their heads. Some people pretended not to look. Some people stared openly. A few phones quietly rose into the air. Becky pushed herself up on her elbows. "I'm not following you," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "I'm just here to eat." Emeka laughed, loud and ugly. "Eat?" he said. "You? In a place like this? Becky, stop acting like you're rich. You can't even afford water here." Becky's chest tightened. She looked around and saw expensive lights, shiny glasses, and waiters moving like they were floating. She knew this place was not cheap. She also knew she did not come here by mistake. She came with her husband, her new husband, Kelvin. Becky opened her mouth to speak again, but Emeka did not let her. He stepped forward, and before she could sit properly, his shoe hit her side. A sharp pain shot through her body. Becky gasped. Another kick came, this time near her thigh. "You think you can come and embarrass me?" Emeka hissed. "After leaving me, you want to show me you've become big." Becky's eyes filled with tears, but she refused to let them fall. She tried to crawl back, but the chair behind her blocked her. She looked up and cried out, "Stop! Emeka, stop!" The waiter nearby froze. The man at the next table stood up halfway, unsure. The manager looked like he wanted to move, but fear tied his legs. And Emeka lifted his foot again, just as his shoe came down. A deep voice thundered from behind, "Get away from my wife!" The whole room snapped like a rubber band. Emeka turned sharply. Becky turned too, her heart jumping hard. Kelvin was standing at the entrance of the restaurant, tall, calm, but his face had changed. His eyes looked like fire. For a second, Kelvin did not move. He only stared at Becky on the floor. Her eyes met his. Becky's tough heart cracked, because she saw something in Kelvin's face that she had never seen on Emeka's face, not even once. She saw pain for her. She saw fear for her. She saw love that was ready to fight. Kelvin took one step forward, then another. Then he walked fast, like a storm that had finally broken loose. Emeka swallowed, but still tried to act strong. "Who is your wife?" Emeka said loudly, forcing a laugh. "This woman, Becky. She's my ex-wife. She's a nobody. She's just—" Kelvin didn't answer him with words. He bent down quickly, his hand gentle as he touched Becky's shoulder. "Becky," he said softly, like he was trying to calm a trembling child. "Are you hurt?" Becky nodded, unable to speak. Her throat felt tight. Kelvin's jaw clenched. He stood up slowly, and when Kelvin faced Emeka again, it looked like the air became heavier. "You kicked her," Kelvin said, his voice quiet now. Emeka rolled his eyes, trying to pretend nothing happened. "It's my business," Emeka said. "She's my ex-wife. She knows how to annoy people. She's always been stubborn." Kelvin took one step closer. "Say that again," Kelvin said. Emeka's confidence started shaking like paper in wind. He still tried to puff his chest. "You heard me." Kelvin moved so fast, people did not even see his hand clearly. Slap. Emeka's head snapped to the side. Gasps filled the room. Kelvin grabbed Emeka's collar. "Do you know what you just did?" Kelvin asked, low and dangerous. "You hurt someone I love." Emeka's eyes widened. He finally noticed Kelvin's wristwatch, the kind that cost more than a car. He noticed Kelvin's clean suit, the calm power in his posture, the way the restaurant workers suddenly stood straighter like they recognized him. Emeka's voice dropped. Who are you?" Emeka asked. Kelvin leaned in and said something in Emeka's ear. Whatever Kelvin said made Emeka's face change completely. It was like all the blood left his body at once. Emeka's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Becky watched from the floor, confused. Kelvin released Emeka and turned back to her. He lifted her gently, like she was made of glass. Becky held onto Kelvin's arm, trying to stand. But the moment she stood, pain made her knees shake. Kelvin caught her quickly. He looked at the manager. "Call the police," Kelvin said, calm but firm. "And call a doctor, now." The manager rushed off like his life depended on it. Emeka stumbled backward. No, it's not that serious," he said. "I was just teaching her a lesson." Kelvin's eyes flashed. "A lesson," Kelvin repeated. Emeka started sweating. Some customers were now whispering, "Who is that man? Isn't that Kelvin? I've seen him on the news." Becky's mind spun. On the news? She looked up at Kelvin again. Yes, she knew Kelvin had money. She knew he had cars and houses. She knew people respected him. But Kelvin never used big words like, "I'm a billionaire." He never made noise. He just loved her quietly. Emeka's eyes darted around. He suddenly noticed that two men in dark suits had entered the restaurant behind Kelvin. They stood near the door, watching everything. Security. Emeka's lips began to shake. Becky could not believe it. This was real. The past she ran away from had found her again. Right here, in the middle of the happiness she thought she finally deserved. Kelvin helped Becky sit on a chair. He crouched in front of her and checked her side carefully with his eyes. "Tell me where it hurts," he said. Becky's lips trembled. It's my side," she whispered, "and my leg." Kelvin's face tightened. He looked up at Emeka again. This time, Kelvin did not look like a man who only wanted to warn someone. He looked like a man who was ready to destroy. And Emeka saw it too. Emeka turned suddenly like he wanted to run. But one of Kelvin's men blocked him at the door. Emeka froze. He turned back slowly, trapped. His voice cracked. "Becky," he said quickly, "tell him to stop. Tell him it was misunderstanding." "Becky, please." Becky stared at him. Her heart beat hard, not because she still loved Emeka, but because she remembered. She remembered how Emeka used to call her please only when he wanted something. She remembered how Emeka could switch from anger to begging in 1 second. She remembered nights of tears and fear. And she remembered the final day she left, the day her whole life changed. Becky took a shaky breath. Kelvin was still crouched in front of her, waiting. His hand was on her knee, gentle and steady. "Becky," Kelvin said softly, "talk to me. What is he to you?" Becky swallowed. She looked at Emeka, then looked back at Kelvin. He is my ex-husband," she said. Kelvin's eyes darkened. Emeka quickly added, "Ex, yes. Ex, she left me. She—" Kelvin raised one hand, and Emeka's voice died. Becky continued, her voice low. "I left because he used to hurt me." Kelvin did not blink. Becky forced the words out, even though they tasted bitter. "He didn't treat me well, not even once. I tried. I cooked. I cleaned. I prayed. I begged him to change. But he only got worse." A tear escaped her eye and rolled down her cheek. Kelvin wiped it away with his thumb, gently. Becky's chest rose and fell. "And today," she whispered, "I didn't know he would see me here. I didn't know he would do this again." Kelvin stood up slowly. He faced Emeka. "You hurt her in your house," Kelvin said. "You hurt her in her marriage, and now you came to hurt her in public." Emeka shook his head fast. No, he said. "She's lying. She's trying to make me look bad." Kelvin smiled, but it was not a happy smile. It was the kind of smile that scared people. Kelvin turned to the manager, who had returned with a doctor and 2 policemen entering behind him. Kelvin pointed at Emeka. "That man assaulted my wife," Kelvin said. The policeman looked at Emeka. Emeka's eyes went wide. "No, officer, it's not like that." Kelvin cut him off. "And I want charges," Kelvin said. "Full charges." Becky felt her heart jump. The word charges sounded heavy. Real. Serious. The policeman moved toward Emeka. Emeka began to shake. "Becky," he yelled, desperation in his voice. "Tell them to stop. Becky, please, don't do this to me." Becky's hands trembled on her lap. Kelvin looked back at her. Becky, he said softly, you don't have to talk if you don't want to, but I need you to know something. Becky looked up at him. Kelvin's eyes were firm. No one will ever touch you like that again, he said. Becky's throat tightened again. She wanted to believe him. She did believe him. But suddenly, Emeka shouted another thing, something that made Becky's whole body go cold. He pointed at Kelvin and screamed, "Do you even know who you married? Becky, do you know what this man has done? Kelvin is not who you think he is." Becky's eyes widened. Kelvin's expression didn't change, but his eyes became sharp. The whole restaurant went silent again. Even the policeman paused, confused. Becky's heart started pounding. What was Emeka talking about? Emeka's voice rose higher, like he was ready to drop a bomb. "I know Kelvin," Emeka shouted. "I know his secret, and if you arrest me today, I will tell everyone, right here, who he really is." Becky's mouth went dry. Kelvin took a slow step toward Emeka. "Emeka," Kelvin said calmly, "choose your next words carefully." But Emeka was already out of control. He looked around at the people recording. He licked his lips and smiled like he had found a way to win. And then he opened his mouth to speak. And that was the moment Becky realized the night was about to turn into something even worse. The restaurant felt smaller, not because the walls moved, but because fear crept into every corner. Emeka's words hung in the air like smoke. "I know Kelvin," he said again, louder now. "I know his secret." People leaned forward. Phones rose higher. Even the policeman glanced at Kelvin, unsure. Becky's heart beat so hard it hurt. She looked up at Kelvin. For the first time since she met him, she saw something new on his face. Not fear, not anger, but warning. "Emeka," Kelvin said slowly, "this is not the place for lies." Emeka laughed, shaky and wild. "Lies," he said. "You think I don't know you? You think money can erase the past?" Kelvin stepped closer. One of his security men moved too, but Kelvin raised a hand. He wanted this handled face to face. Becky felt torn. Part of her wanted Kelvin to shut Emeka up forever. Another part, small and scared, wanted to know. What secret? Emeka pointed at Becky. "Ask her," he shouted. "Ask your precious wife if she knows the kind of man she married." Becky swallowed. She hated how Emeka still found ways to pull her into his mess. Kelvin turned to her. His voice softened. "Becky," he said, "look at me." She did. "Whatever he says next," Kelvin continued, "remember one thing. He is desperate. And desperate people lie." Emeka slammed his hand on a table. "I am not lying," he screamed. "Kelvin was poor once. Worse than me, he begged people for food." Gasps filled the room. Becky blinked. That was the secret. Emeka smirked, thinking he had won. "Yes," he said, "that's right. Mr. Big Man was once nothing. I knew him when he slept in a shop." Some people murmured. Kelvin didn't move. He didn't deny it either. Becky slowly turned her head to Kelvin. Kelvin met her eyes. "Yes," he said calmly. "That part is true." Becky's chest tightened. Kelvin continued before Emeka could enjoy it. "I grew up poor. I struggled. I failed many times. I slept hungry. I worked hard." He looked around the room. "And I am not ashamed of that." The murmuring changed tone. Emeka's smile faded. "That's not all," Emeka shouted quickly. "Tell them the rest." Kelvin's eyes hardened. "There is no rest," Kelvin said. Emeka shook his head wildly. "Oh, there is," he said. "Tell them how you made your money. Tell them how you stepped on people." Becky's breath caught. She searched Kelvin's face for cracks. She found none. Kelvin spoke quietly, but everyone heard. "I built my company legally, slowly, carefully, with clean hands." Emeka laughed again, this time weak. "You expect people to believe that," Emeka said. "This woman believes you, but the world won't." Kelvin leaned in close to Emeka. His voice dropped so low only Emeka and Becky could hear. "You want to hurt her because you lost her," Kelvin said. "You want to destroy what you can't have." Emeka flinched. Kelvin straightened and looked at the policeman. "Take him," Kelvin said. The policeman moved. Emeka panicked. "No, no," he cried. "Becky, Becky, you know me. You know I wouldn't hurt you like this." Becky's hands curled into fists. She stood up slowly, ignoring the pain in her side. Her legs shook, but she stood. Everyone turned to her. Emeka froze when he saw her face. Becky's voice came out soft, but firm. "You did hurt me," she said, "many times." Emeka opened his mouth, but Becky continued, "You hurt me when you shouted at me for small things. You hurt me when you pushed me. You hurt me when you made me feel useless." Her eyes burned. "And today," she said, "you hurt me again." The room stayed silent. Emeka's shoulders dropped. The policeman took his arms. "No," Emeka whispered. "Becky, please." Kelvin moved beside Becky, his arm steady around her. Emeka was dragged toward the door. But just before he reached it, he twisted his head back and shouted one last thing. "This is not over," he yelled. "You think money will save you forever? I will come back." The door slammed behind him. Silence followed, then whispers. Kelvin turned to Becky. "Are you okay?" he asked. Becky nodded, but tears finally fell. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't want this to happen." Kelvin held her carefully. "You have nothing to be sorry for," he said. The doctor examined Becky quickly and advised rest. Kelvin nodded. "We're leaving," he said. As they walked out, eyes followed them, some curious, some respectful, some shocked. Inside the car, Becky stared out the window. Her mind was loud. Kelvin sat beside her, quiet, giving her space. After a long moment, Becky spoke. "Is Emeka really from your past?" she asked. Kelvin nodded. "Yes." "Did he know you well?" she asked. Kelvin hesitated. "Not well," he said, "but enough to recognize me." Becky's fingers twisted together. "Why didn't you tell me you were once that poor?" she asked. Kelvin smiled sadly. "I didn't think it mattered," he said. "I wanted you to know who I am now, not who I used to be." Becky leaned back. "I don't care that you were poor," she said. "I care that you're kind." Kelvin's hand found hers. That night, Becky couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Emeka's foot coming down. She heard his voice. She felt the floor. Kelvin sat awake beside her, watching. When she finally slept, her dreams were restless. Morning came with heavy clouds. Kelvin received a call early. He listened quietly, then his jaw tightened. "What is it?" Becky asked. Kelvin looked at her. "Emeka has been released on bail," he said. Becky's heart dropped. "So soon," she whispered. Kelvin nodded. "He has friends," he said, "and bitterness." Becky hugged herself. "I'm scared," she admitted. Kelvin moved closer. "You are not alone," he said. "I promise." Later that day, Becky's phone buzzed. Unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. "Hello?" she said. Emeka's voice came through, cold and calm. "Good afternoon, Becky," he said. Her stomach twisted. "How did you get this number?" she asked. Emeka chuckled. "You forget," he said. "I know people." Becky's voice shook. "What do you want?" Emeka paused. "Kelvin embarrassed me," he said. "You embarrassed me." Becky's heart pounded. "You embarrassed yourself," she said. Emeka's tone changed. "You think you've won," he said. "But rich men fall too." Becky hung up, shaking. She told Kelvin everything. Kelvin's face hardened. "This ends now," he said. That evening, news began spreading online. Videos from the restaurant, headlines, comments. Some supported Becky, some questioned Kelvin, some dug into the past. Kelvin watched quietly. Becky sat beside him, overwhelmed. "Is this because of me?" she asked. Kelvin shook his head. "No," he said. "This is because someone can't accept loss." Another call came. This time Kelvin answered. He listened. Then smiled, slow and dangerous. "Let him try," Kelvin said into the phone. "I'm ready." He ended the call. Becky looked at him. "What's happening?" she asked. Kelvin looked into her eyes. "Emeka has started something," he said, "and I won't run." Outside, thunder rolled. Becky felt it deep in her chest. Something bigger was coming, something darker. And Emeka wasn't done yet. The rain started at midnight, not soft rain. Heavy rain, like the sky was angry. Becky lay awake on the bed, staring at the ceiling. Every thunder sounded like Emeka's voice in her head. "I will come back." Kelvin sat beside her, his back against the headboard, phone in hand. He had been quiet since the news broke online. The video from the restaurant was everywhere. People slowed it down, zoomed in, talked over it. Some blamed Emeka. Some asked dangerous questions. Some asked about Kelvin. "Are you sleeping?" Kelvin asked softly. Becky shook her head. "No." Kelvin sighed and placed the phone aside. "I'm sorry," he said. "This should never have touched you." Becky turned to him. "You didn't push him to kick me," she said. "He chose to be that kind of man." Kelvin studied her face. "You're stronger than you think," he said. Becky gave a small smile, but fear still sat in her chest. "What if he doesn't stop?" she asked. Kelvin's eyes darkened. "He won't get close to you again," he said. "I'll make sure of that." Morning came with bad news. Kelvin's assistant called early. "Sir," the assistant said, nervous, "there's a press request and a legal letter." Kelvin closed his eyes briefly. "From who?" he asked. There was a pause. "From Emeka," the assistant said. Becky's heart skipped. "A legal letter?" she asked quietly after Kelvin ended the call. Kelvin nodded. "He's accusing me of assault," Kelvin said, "and power abuse." Becky sat up. "But he attacked me," she said. "There were witnesses." Kelvin nodded again. "Yes," he said, "but Emeka wants noise, not truth." By noon, reporters were outside the gate. Kelvin's home, once quiet, felt like a cage. Becky watched from behind the curtain. "Maybe I should speak," she said. Kelvin turned sharply. "No," he said, "not yet." Becky frowned. "Why?" she asked. "Because Emeka wants you in front of cameras," Kelvin said. "He wants you scared and confused." Becky hugged herself. "So what do we do?" Kelvin thought for a moment. "We wait," he said, "and we prepare." That afternoon, something unexpected happened. Kelvin's phone rang again. This time the caller ID showed a name Becky had never seen before. Kelvin answered. His posture changed. "Yes," he said, "I understand." He listened for a long time. Then he said, "I'll be there." He ended the call. Becky watched him closely. "Who was that?" she asked. Kelvin hesitated. "Someone from my past," he said. "Someone Emeka thinks he can use." Becky's stomach twisted. "What does Emeka know about you?" she asked. Kelvin took a deep breath. "He knows I used to work for someone dangerous," Kelvin said. "A man who didn't play fair." Becky's eyes widened. "Dangerous how?" she asked. Kelvin stood up. "Not today," he said. "I'll explain soon." That night, Kelvin left the house alone. Becky didn't like it. She stood at the door, watching his car disappear into the rain. Her chest felt tight. Something told her this was only the beginning. Meanwhile, Emeka sat in a small apartment, pacing. His phone buzzed non-stop. Messages, calls, angry ones, supportive ones. He ignored most. He stared at the video playing on his TV, Becky on the floor, Kelvin stepping in, the slap, the crowd. Emeka clenched his fists. "She thinks she's better than me," he muttered. "She thinks money can erase me." His phone rang again. This time he answered. "Yes?" he snapped. A calm voice replied, "You said you knew Kelvin." Emeka froze. "Who is this?" he asked. "You don't need to know," the voice said. "But you said you knew his past." Emeka swallowed. "Yes," he said, "I do." The voice chuckled softly. "Good," it said. "Then maybe we can help each other." Emeka's eyes shone. "What do you want?" he asked. "Everything Kelvin has," the voice replied. Emeka smiled for the first time since the restaurant. Back at the house, Becky tried to distract herself. She cooked but burned the food. She cleaned but stopped halfway. Her phone buzzed, unknown number. Her heart raced. She answered carefully. "Hello?" a woman's voice replied. "Is this Becky?" "Yes," Becky said slowly. "This is Mrs. Okori," the woman said. "I'm calling about Emeka." Becky's hand shook. "What about him?" she asked. Mrs. Okori sighed. "He came to see me," she said. "He's angry and reckless." Becky closed her eyes. "What does he want?" she whispered. "He wants revenge," Mrs. Okori said, "and he's not alone." The call ended. Becky sat down hard on the couch. not alone. When Kelvin returned late that night, Becky rushed to him. "He's working with someone," she said, "someone powerful." Kelvin nodded slowly. "I know," he said. "That's why I went out." He sat down and finally spoke. "Becky," he said, "before I met you, I worked under a man named Chief Raji." Becky listened closely. "He was rich," Kelvin continued, "but cruel. He cheated people, destroyed lives." Becky felt cold. "I refused to help him cheat," Kelvin said, "so he ruined me." Becky gasped. "He took everything," Kelvin said. "My savings, my job, my name." Kelvin looked at his hands. "I rebuilt from nothing," he said. "That's the part Emeka knows." Becky swallowed. "And now?" she asked. Kelvin looked at her. "Now Chief Raji wants payback," he said. Becky's heart raced. "For what?" she asked. "For surviving," Kelvin said. The next morning, Becky woke up to shouting outside. She ran to the window. Police cars, reporters. Kelvin's security moving fast. Her phone buzzed. A message. "Check the news." She opened it. Headline: "Billionaire Kelvin accused of fraud. Former associate speaks out." Becky's hands shook. Another message came. From Emeka: "You should have stayed poor with me." Becky's chest burned. Kelvin came in fast. "They're attacking my company," he said. "Bank accounts frozen. Projects paused." Becky felt dizzy. "This is because of me," she whispered. Kelvin grabbed her shoulders gently. "No," he said. "This is because Emeka hates losing." The doorbell rang loudly. Kelvin's security rushed to check. A police officer stepped in. "Mr. Kelvin," the officer said, "you're requested for questioning." Becky's heart dropped. Kelvin turned to her. "Stay calm," he said. "This is temporary." Becky grabbed his hand. "Don't go," she begged softly. Kelvin smiled, trying to reassure her. "I'll come back," he said. As Kelvin was led away, Becky stood frozen. Her phone buzzed again, a final message from Emeka. "This is only the start." Becky stared at the screen, trembling. She didn't know what scared her more, the enemies Kelvin had, or the man she once married. And far away, Emeka watched the news, smiling. "Now," he whispered, "she will see who really wins." The house felt empty the moment Kelvin left. Becky stood in the living room long after the police car drove away. The sound of the gate closing echoed in her ears like a final warning. She slowly sat down. Her hands were cold. Her heart felt like it was being squeezed. She had escaped Emeka once. She never thought he would come back like this, stronger, louder, and more dangerous. Becky whispered to herself, "Stay strong." But strength felt far away. At the police station, Kelvin sat calmly in a small room. A table, 2 chairs, a camera on the wall. The officer across from him flipped through papers. "You're accused of fraud, intimidation, and abuse of power," the officer said. Kelvin nodded once. "I understand," he replied. "You were once connected to Chief Raji," the officer continued. "Yes," Kelvin said. "I worked for him. I refused to help him cheat people. He destroyed me." The officer raised an eyebrow. "And now he says you stole from him," the officer said. Kelvin leaned forward. "He's lying," Kelvin said, "and he's using Emeka to reach my wife." The officer paused. "Your wife was attacked in public," he said. "There are witnesses. That works in your favor." Kelvin exhaled slowly. "But lies travel faster than truth," Kelvin added. The officer didn't argue. Back at home, Becky's phone would not stop ringing. Friends she hadn't spoken to in years suddenly cared. Some asked if she was okay. Some asked if Kelvin was really a criminal. Others only wanted gossip. She stopped answering. She turned on the TV. Big mistake. Kelvin's face filled the screen. Old photos appeared. Young Kelvin, tired eyes, worn clothes. A reporter's voice spoke loudly. Questions arising about billionaire Kelvin's past. Was his rise clean or built on lies? Becky grabbed the remote and turned it off. Tears rolled down her cheeks. She hugged a pillow tightly. "I just wanted peace," she whispered. A knock came at the door. Becky froze. Security opened it. A woman stepped in, tall, calm, well-dressed. "Mrs. Kelvin?" the woman asked. Becky nodded slowly. "I'm Ada," the woman said. "Kelvin's lawyer." Becky stood up quickly. "Where is he?" she asked. Ada smiled gently. "He'll be fine," she said, "but we need your help." Becky swallowed. "What kind of help?" she asked. Ada sat down. "We need you to tell your story," she said, "not to the media, yet, to the court." Becky's chest tightened. "I'm tired," she admitted. "I've been hurt enough." Ada nodded. "I know," she said, "but Amika is using your silence as a weapon." At the sound of his name, Becky stiffened. "What is he saying now?" Becky asked. Ada sighed. "He's claiming you followed him to the restaurant," she said. "He says Kelvin paid you to lie." Becky jumped up. "That's not true," she shouted. Ada held up her hand. "I know," she said, "but lies grow when truth stays quiet." Becky's hands shook. She thought of Emeka's kicks, his voice, his threats. She also thought of Kelvin, how he cooked for her, laughed with her, treated her gently like she mattered. She wiped her tears. "I'll speak," Becky said firmly. "I won't let him twist my pain." Ada nodded. "That's all we need," she said. That same night, Emeka sat comfortably in a hotel room. Luxury he had never known before. A glass of wine in his hand, a smile on his face. The calm voice from before sat across from him. Chief Raji. "So," Chief Raji said smoothly, "you did well." Emeka leaned back. "I told you I know how to hurt him," Emeka said, "through her." Chief Raji nodded slowly. "Yes," he said, "but don't forget, when this is over, she means nothing." Emeka paused, something twisted inside him. "Becky is mine," Emeka said sharply. Chief Raji smiled thinly. "She left you," he said. "You don't own her." Emeka clenched his jaw. "She humiliated me," he said. "I want her to suffer." Chief Raji leaned forward. "She will," he said, "if Kelvin falls." Emeka smiled again. The next day, Becky entered the courthouse. Cameras flashed, people whispered. She wore a simple dress, no makeup, her head high. Inside, Kelvin saw her, their eyes met. For a moment the noise faded. Kelvin's lips moved slightly. "Thank you." Becky nodded. The judge entered. The courtroom stood. The case began. Emeka sat across the room. When he saw Becky, his eyes narrowed. She ignored him. Ada stood. "Your Honor," she said, "my client was assaulted in public by her ex-husband." She turned to Becky. "Mrs. Kelvin, tell the court what happened." Becky took a deep breath. She spoke slowly. Clear. She told them about her marriage. The abuse, the restaurant, the kicks, the pain, the fear. Her voice shook sometimes, but she didn't stop. When she finished, the room was silent. Even Emeka looked uneasy. The judge nodded. "Thank you," the judge said. Then Emeka's lawyer stood. "Mrs. Kelvin," he said smoothly, "isn't it true you left my client for a rich man?" Becky frowned. "I left because he hurt me," she replied. The lawyer smiled. "And now you enjoy luxury," he said. "Isn't it possible you staged this for sympathy?" Becky's heart raced. "No," she said firmly, "pain is not something I fake." Emeka suddenly stood up. "She's lying," he shouted. "She always lies." The judge banged the gavel. "Order," the judge said. Emeka sat down, breathing hard. Kelvin watched silently. The case continued. Witnesses spoke. Videos were shown. Doctors testified. Things started to turn. Hope flickered in Becky's chest. Until a new witness was called. Chief Raji. He walked in calmly, confident, dangerous. Kelvin's jaw tightened. Chief Raji smiled at the judge. "I mentored Kelvin," he said. "I know his tricks." He turned toward Becky. "And I know why he married her," Chief Raji added. The courtroom buzzed. Becky's heart dropped. Kelvin stood up. "That's a lie," Kelvin said. The judge raised a hand. "Let him speak," the judge said. Chief Raji smiled wider. "He married her to hide," he said, "to look clean, to appear human." Becky felt like the floor was shaking. She looked at Kelvin. He shook his head slightly. "Don't believe him," Chief Raji continued. "I will provide documents," he said. "Proof." The judge nodded. "Bring them," he said. As papers were handed over, Emeka smiled. He leaned back, satisfied. Becky's hands trembled. What if the lies are stronger than the truth? Kelvin reached for her hand. She squeezed it tightly. The judge reviewed the documents. Silence stretched. Finally, the judge spoke. "This court will adjourn," he said. "We will continue tomorrow." A gasp filled the room. Adjourn. That meant waiting. That meant fear. Outside, reporters swarmed. Questions flew. Becky felt dizzy. Kelvin's security shielded them. Inside the car, Becky broke down. "What if they believe him?" she cried. Kelvin pulled her close. "They won't," he said softly, "because truth always leaves a mark." Becky buried her face in his chest, but deep down, fear still lived. Because Emeka wasn't done, and Chief Raji wasn't finished. That night, Becky received a message from an unknown number. It had only one line. "If you testify again tomorrow, Kelvin will lose everything." Becky stared at the screen. Her hands shook. She looked up at Kelvin, who was talking on the phone. Should she tell him? Should she stay silent? Outside, thunder rolled again, and Becky realized tomorrow would decide everything. Becky did not sleep that night. She sat on the edge of the bed, staring at her phone, reading the message again and again. "If you testify again tomorrow, Kelvin will lose everything." Her hands shook. Fear crawled up her spine like cold ants. She looked at Kelvin. He was asleep beside her, or at least pretending to be. His face looked tired. Lines of stress rested on his forehead. Becky's heart hurt. "This is my fault," she thought. She could leave the courtroom tomorrow. She could keep quiet. She could protect Kelvin by destroying herself. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Then she remembered something. The restaurant floor, the kick, the shame, and the moment Kelvin shouted, "Get away from my wife." Becky wiped her tears. Slowly she stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the city lights shone bravely in the darkness. Becky whispered, "I won't be afraid anymore." She turned back and gently touched Kelvin's shoulder. "Kelvin," she said softly. He opened his eyes. "What is it?" he asked. Becky showed him the message. Kelvin read it. His face hardened. "They're threatening you," he said quietly. Becky nodded. Kelvin sat up fully. "Becky," he said, holding her hands, "listen to me carefully. Whatever happens tomorrow, I do not regret marrying you. You are not the problem. You are the reason I fight." Becky broke down. "I don't want to lose you," she cried. Kelvin pulled her into his arms. "You won't," he said firmly, "and they won't win." Morning came fast. The courthouse was fuller than before. More cameras, more reporters, more whispers. But Becky walked in with her head high. She held Kelvin's hand. Emeka sat across the room. When he saw Becky, he smirked, confident. Chief Raji sat beside him, calm and proud. They thought they had already won. The judge entered. The courtroom stood. "This court is now in session," the judge said. Becky's heart beat fast. The judge looked at the documents from the previous day. "Before we continue," the judge said, "new evidence has been submitted overnight." The courtroom stirred. Kelvin's lawyer, Ada, stood. "Yes, Your Honor," she said. "We submitted financial records, emails and video testimony." Chief Raji's smile faded slightly. Emeka shifted in his seat. The judge nodded. "Proceed," the judge said. Ada spoke clearly. "These documents show that Chief Raji falsified records to frame Kelvin. The accounts used do not belong to my client." Gasps filled the room. Chief Raji stood up quickly. "That's a lie," he shouted. The judge banged the gavel. "Sit down," the judge warned. Ada continued, "We also have a witness who can confirm this." The doors opened. A man walked in, middle-aged, nervous, strong. Becky's eyes widened. It was Mr. Tunda, Kelvin's former colleague. The same man who once warned Kelvin to leave Chief Raji's company years ago. Kelvin's eyes softened. "Mr. Pat," Tunda raised his right hand and swore an oath. Then he spoke. "Chief Raji forced us to cheat clients," he said. Kelvin refused. That's why he was pushed out. The courtroom buzzed. Emeka's face drained of color. Chief Raji shook his head wildly. "He's lying," Becky heard him mutter. Ada wasn't done. "We also have recordings," she said. A video played. Chief Raji's voice filled the room. "If Kelvin won't bend, we break him." The judge's face darkened. Chief Raji jumped up. "This is illegal," he shouted. The judge stood. "This court will decide what is illegal," he said coldly. Then the judge turned to Becky. "Mrs. Kelvin," he said, "you may speak again if you wish." Becky stood. Her legs trembled, but she stood. She looked at Emeka. He avoided her eyes. She looked at the judge. "I was threatened," Becky said. The courtroom froze. "I was told not to speak today," she continued, "or my husband would lose everything." Emeka's head snapped up. Chief Raji stiffened. The judge leaned forward. "Who threatened you?" the judge asked. Becky pointed. "Him," she said, "my ex-husband, Emeka, and the man beside him." Emeka jumped up. "No, she's lying," he screamed. But it was too late. Ada raised another phone. "We have the call records," she said calmly, "and messages." The judge closed his eyes briefly, then opened them. "This court has heard enough," he said. Silence fell like a heavy blanket. The judge spoke slowly. "Emeka, you are guilty of assault, harassment, and intimidation." Emeka's knees buckled. "And Chief Raji," the judge continued, "you are guilty of fraud, conspiracy, and obstruction of justice." Chief Raji collapsed into his chair. The judge turned to Kelvin. "Mr. Kelvin," he said, "all charges against you are dismissed." Becky gasped. Tears poured freely now. Kelvin squeezed her hand. The judge's voice softened. "And Mrs. Kelvin," he said, "this court recognizes your courage." He banged the gavel. "Case closed." For 1 second, the room was silent. Then everything exploded. Voices, gasps, cameras flashing. Kelvin pulled Becky into his arms. They cried together. Outside the courtroom, reporters shouted questions. Kelvin raised one hand. "My wife has spoken enough," he said. "We choose peace." Emeka was led away in handcuffs. As he passed Becky, his eyes were full of regret. But Becky did not look away this time. She felt free. Chief Raji was taken too. Powerless, broken. Weeks later, the storm passed. Kelvin's company reopened stronger. Clients returned. Projects resumed. People apologized. But the best part wasn't the money. It was the quiet. One evening, Becky sat in the kitchen. Kelvin stood beside her, stirring soup. "Careful," Becky laughed. "You'll burn it." Kelvin smiled. "I'm learning," he said. They ate together, simple and happy. Later, Kelvin took Becky's hands. "I want to renew our vows," he said. Becky's eyes widened. "Why?" she asked. Kelvin smiled. "Because we survived," he said, "and because I want the world to know, you are my pride." Becky cried happy tears. The vow renewal was small. No cameras, no noise, just love. As Kelvin placed the ring on her finger again, he whispered, "No one will ever kick you down again." Becky smiled, because this time, she believed it. She was no longer afraid. She was no longer broken. She had love, she had truth, and she had won. Thanks for watching. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel for amazing stories.